All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go into game number 1. It's a Slivko up against JYP. First map is the Antigua Shipyard. Let's go ahead and get there, where we have a PVZ to start us off. Oop. I muted the sound and music. There we go. It's all back and good, Axel. No worries.
All right, man. I was freaking out for a little bit there.
I know.
But PVZ, one of my favorite matchups. JYP asking if it's only cross, and it is. NASTL forces cross positions on this map, which is fine and dandy. And JYP gonna put a pylon at the ramp here. You know, I'm a little bit indecisive about this as of right now. This matchup. If an early pull comes out from your opponent, which Slivko is not doing, this can be a little bit risky. I don't know what that was. Did you hear that? I don't know what that was. We'll just ignore that. But yeah, like a lot of players will start walling in, starting at their ramp, so they have a little bit more like compaction. Right? If your pylon is in the middle of like a big open space, Zerglings are able to get a big surface area, and they can take that down relatively easily, assuming you don't have any defenses. Which is why it's a little bit risky putting the wall out here to start with. But we'll see what happens here. I mean, it's kind of paying off for him right now, considering Slivko is just making nothing but drones at this point in the game, and both these players look like they just want to go macro right now.
Yeah, I think that's why we do see a pylon scout actually coming out from JYP. A lot of times when you're witnessing this and then you witness like something like a 10 pool, you will put down the forge and then actually just collapse back into your base, or pull all your probes and try to defend it. I think pulling your probes is actually a lot riskier, but yeah, I do agree with you. 10 pool actually kills this build. There's no two ways about that, and obviously Slivko is not doing a 10 pull. He's all the way up to 16 drones at this point, putting down the spawning pool. But the main reason why the 10 pull kills it, not something like 6 pull, well, 6 pull you've done a lot of economic damage to yourself as the Zerg player. So a lot of times you can put down the forge, put a pylon in your main, and then put cannons up, and just say, okay, I have more probes than you have drones. Yes, I lose 250 minerals over here with my pylon and my forge, but you've lost a lot of minerals just not obviously mining from all the potential drones that you have. But 10 pool, it comes in when you still have a lot of drones. It forces you back all the way. It still does that. You can't get down cannons in time, and all of a sudden you don't have that economic damage like you do when you are doing a 6 pool.
Yeah, and JYP just being so annoying with this probe right now.
Oh, yeah.
Look at how much money Slivko is floating, just now putting down that expansion at his third. But yeah, JYP denying the natural so long, then going up and denying that third. Not too unusual to see this fast third from the Zerg player, but now JYP pretty much knows that his opponent probably isn't going to be aggressive anytime soon, considering he's getting that hatchery at his third base, which means he's probably going to get a hatchery pretty soon at his natural expansion. I would not be surprised to see JYP send out another probe to do some additional scouting, trying to just verify that natural went up, maybe get into the main to scout on the gas timing, see if there's a Roachborn coming on the way. That's because that's extremely important information. But it looks like Slivko wants to turn this into a macro game, and we'll have to see how JYP responds.
Yeah, and I like what both players are doing, actually. JYP, I think, is in a slight advantage, seeing that he got his Nexus up super fast. Obviously, he was able to get it before actually putting down those cannons, so it helps him out quite a bit. Additionally, he'll have that chrono boost. You're going to see him ahead in the income tab for quite a long time, until around 40 to 50. That's not where Slivko actually wants to be. We'll see how he actually transitions, though. That's going to be probably the more important thing. Where does JYP go from here? There's a lot of different things. The current trend in Korea at this point in time is 2-base all-in on Antigua Shipyard. You go for a Void Ray type of opening, and you just go gateways, like 5, 6, 7 gateways, and that Void Ray play, and then you just push out and do a lot of damage to the third, meanwhile putting down a pylon and trying to stop that from doing any warp-ins in the main. Or excuse me, well, trying to put warp-ins into the main and really stretching out the Zerg. So we'll see if JYP actually does that. Make me look like a savant.
Mastermind.
Or mastermind, or a Nostradamus, one of those. A Foreseer.
Why not all of them? Why just one?
Yeah, they're mutually exclusive in my eyes.
Interesting.
I don't know why.
But what's interesting, what's pretty interesting, JYP got relatively late gases, so his gas is pretty low right now. He just started a warp gate out of his cybernetics core, starting +1 on his forge, and his money's getting up there. So might just throw down a bunch of gateways and go for some sort of aggression in the near future. In the meantime, Slivko just now taking his gases at the 6-minute 45-second mark, so really delaying that. We'll have to see if it pays off for him. And JYP starting to put down some gateways here, Gretorp.
Yep, JYP looks to be going some sort of 4-gate pressure. We have seen him do this multiple times. What this does is it really hits the Zerg at a time where they're just droning up and they're just about to make units, and all of a sudden these Zealots pop out. And you're actually streaming Zerglings, and Zerglings actually aren't a good counter to this because you're actually witnessing right now, Mr. Axeltoss, a +1 timing. Where the +1 finishes, and that +1 allows the Zealots to 2-hit all of the Zerglings. So it'll be very, very interesting to see how Slivko actually holds this off, as he is getting the Roach Horn right now.
Yeah, this is really nicely timed from JYP. You'll see all of his stuff finishing at about the same time. Warp Gate's going to finish right when these gateways finish, right when +1 finishes, and that's when he wants to be hitting his opponent. Putting down a pylon. If Slivko can take down that pylon, that would be actually pretty darn huge. JYP returning back. These Zealots are trying to take these Zerglings out. Don't lose the probe! Probe taken out. And, you know, that's pretty bad. He's not going to be able to put forward any more pylons. He's only going to have this one that's relatively close, but you obviously, ideally, you want to have one inside the third base of your opponent, you know, to be able to reinforce as fast as possible.
Yeah, and Roaches are already on the way out. 7 Roaches and 14 Zerglings, so maybe these units actually won't deal much damage, and JYP all of a sudden misses his timing. Now the Roaches pop out, and these Zealots are like, oh crap, I need to back up immediately. This whole investment does nothing, and Slivko gets a big advantage out of this. You can see the harvester count 53, 52 at this point to 48. I'm sure 2 gases were put down or something like that. We can see actually evolution chambers put down, extra extractors. But right now JYP, his whole investment, think about that, all the chrono boost that he does and all the gateway units that he makes, basically useless, right? I mean, he could have invested that into probes. He got could have gotten a lot faster of his gateways, his mass gateways at this point. But now he's going to lose, oh my goodness, all of those Zealots are going to die. And that is critical. All of a sudden, Slivko just massively ahead. All he has to do is defend, identify what his opponent is doing. It is a mass gateway plus sentry. Looks like Stalker, Blink Stalker sentry type of opening. If he just masses up in units and you know, defends against this push, he'll be fine.
Yep, and you know, JYP has a tall task in front of him. Doesn't have a lot of gas right now, so can't really warp in the Stalkers that he needs. Only able to warp in a few at a time. So, but yeah, he's definitely going. Ooh, actually going to try to expand behind this. At first, I thought he was going to go for a +2, kind of sort of blink all in type play, considering he has 7 gateways on the field. But instead, going to take that Nexus, and now I'm wondering, is Slivko going to let this go down, or he's going to try to deny this? It's relatively hard to take a 4th on this map as a Zerg player, so ideally you want to keep your Protoss opponent at 2 bases while you macro up, get a bunch of units out, and then go for the engagement. With that being said, Link's going for a run. Ooh, they're not going to engage there yet.
Wow.
But looks like Slivko definitely wants to try to deny this 3rd from going down.
Yep. Nice job. He's able to get the Zerglings in here. Maybe burn a couple of force shields here, but he will deny this Nexus for sure. Doesn't look like he has enough. Nope, canceled. So nice job by JYP. A good trade, I think, overall. It's basically larva. He has a lot of excess minerals at this point. So it's basically larva for an expansion. And of course, if you limit the Protoss, as you said, to 2 base, you're in a really good position as the Zerg player. Now, where does Slivko actually go from here? He's just massing up in Roaches. He has his macro hatch going double upgrades, getting the infestation pit. Pathogen glands on the way. And he's just going to basically develop himself, try to make him as, you know, as well developed as possible so he can deal with any sort of combination that JYP can hit at his opponent.
Yeah, it looks like JYP is going to deny this 4th from going down from Slivko at the 4th base. And Infestor's on the way from Slivko. So once these get out, I feel like he's going to be perfectly fine. JYP has to be very careful, doesn't want to get taken off guard, doesn't want to overextend. His 3rd is getting up, which is his goal right now. He wants his 3rd to get up nice and safe, and that's what he's doing. So, you know, he doesn't want to get caught off guard by Infestor. So I'm a little bit nervous for JYP right now. And looks like he's transitioning into robo play. Might try to throw down a robotics bait pretty quickly, or get a couple of mortals out. But again, once these Infestors get out, I really feel like Slivko is going to have a pretty big advantage in this fight.
Oh yes. The Infestors, what they basically do is clamp down those Stalkers from getting away. And the Stalker, if you can get a big enough Stalker count, it's really, really good. But here we go. Fungal Growths do go down. It locks up a lot of units in place, but you can see beautiful force shields actually segmenting a ton of units off. And now the Roaches are pretty much segmented. They can't really do too much. Great choke actually being formulated right there, but a lot of Sentry energy being wasted. I think Slivko is just going to remake some units and then push again. I think if he keeps doing this and just utilizes his Fungal Growth, gets rid of that stalker count, he's going to be in a position where JYP just can't keep up. And if he just keeps leaning on his opponent, I mean, there's just so much force field energy that you can have as a Protoss.
Yeah, Slivko's at 73 harvesters. You know, I'm pretty sure he's pretty much done with that harvester, the harvester making. So at this point, he's just gonna make nothing but lings and roaches and infestors, I would imagine, while teching up. And JYP taking control of this high ground, taking control of that watchtower, bringing some stalkers to low gun. Ooh, looks like he's gonna try to blink into the main. That's a really cool play from him. And we'll have to see how Slivko ends up dealing with this. No static defense in the main there. Only 2 queens to defend. 1 overload's gonna go down, and Slivko has to peel away some of his roaches to deal with this.
Yeah, it's only a couple, but he's going to bring his whole army over here. This is really risky because he takes out 1 queen just to end it off. He's trying to snipe down the 2nd queen, but that's not going to work out. Zerglings and Roach are too plentiful. As you said, the robotics bay is going down, so he's going for that Colossus tech. But Slivko is max, and we should see him just aggressing up a little bit here. Hive tech is not yet initiated. But this is going to be very hard for JYP to stop, in my opinion, with the amount of Zerglings, Banelings, or not Banelings, Zerglings, Roaches, and more importantly, the Infestors. Those are going to be the big worry, the big trouble for Mr. JYP.
Yeah, no Immortal here either to target fire those Infestors and those Roaches. Of course, they do bonus damage. Looks like JYP going forward with the force field, but nice fungal growth there by Slivko, nailing those sentries and getting them way low in health, and a bunch of them go down. So there go all the energy, there go all the sentries, and now JYP is in a terrible position. He needs to get a Colossi out ASAP or he's going to die.
Well, I think it's a little bit too late, even if he gets Colossus out right now, because the Stalkers are just held in place by that fungal growth. The Roaches are able to just go at them. And you can see the relentless swarm is just pushing further and further. Now finally the Colossus is pushing out here, but no! He's going to lose it! Oh my goodness, and that's going to be catastrophic. You can see Slivko again, fungal growthing down all of those Stalkers, and they're so brittle, you can't lose these Stalkers. You want to blink them out, but it's just, you can't. They're stuck in place. Zerglings are pushed over here. A couple of infested Terrans are going to be popped out here as well. But is it going to be enough? It looks like JYP might be able to hold this finally, but you know, he suffered so much damage with all those sentries dying, with all these Stalkers dying. That's a lot of gas that could be going towards something more important, like, let's say, Colossus, High Templars, etc.
And more lings coming forward, reinforced by Slivko. He did just tech up to Hive as well, so definitely thinking a little bit later on in the game, not you know, not necessarily trying to completely end the game right here, but ooh, Slivko has to be careful, doesn't want to lose these Infestors if JYP blinks down to try to target fire those, and does take out quite a few Infestors here. So Slivko, with a little bit of sloppy play, may have overextended a tad there, and it just went from a huge supply lead to only 152 to 108 now. But Spire on the way, that's going to be a greater Spire as soon as it finishes, and he's going to go into Broodlords. But will JYP try to get up some Colossi and then just go for a pretty huge push before the Broodlords can get out?
Yeah, I don't even think he needs Broodlords. I think just getting Corruptors at this point, going Roach Corruptor would be fine. You know, you've pretty much limited your opponent off of those sentries for so long, and normally Roach Corruptor gets beat by sentries. That's the main thing. You can see 3 sentries had to be made over here, but that energy is going to be very limited. Right? He's not going to have a lot of energy to actually deal with it. So going Roach, Infestor, Corruptor is completely fine in this position. It looks like he's been a little bit slow, Slivko that is, has been a little bit slow in taking expansions. He just now has his gold expansion about to finish, but JYP is going to push out here, and you know, he's going up against a Zerg that has been kind of slow in getting that 1 Spire, and this is pretty critical timing where you know, he has an army composition lead over his opponent, seeing that no Corruptors are out, 6 on the way, 32 Zerglings being produced, and he's almost max. Slivko, you know, he's looking to be in a dicey position.
Yeah, this is definitely not where he expected to be at this point in the game, especially after getting such a favorable engagement after killing all the sentries. But look at the look at the upgrades of JYP right now. 3 weapons right now. That's pretty darn good. The Roaches only at +1 weapons, and I think the Zerglings are at +2 maybe. So you know, JYP does have the advantage in that regard. Greater Spire about just now starting. Some Corruptors getting on the field as well. And you know, Slivko is relatively gas starved right now, which is definitely a problem. And JYP just gonna go straight to this 4th base. It looks like, oh, changing his mind. Only sitting Zealots over there. I like that decision. you know, it enables him to keep that map control in the middle of the map. But looks like Slivko wants to engage here, Gretorp.
Yep, and he needs to take down those Corruptors, or he needs to take down those Colossus ASAP because they did so much damage, but the damage has already been done at this point. The Infestors are not able to do enough. You can see that the Blink Stalkers are just going to blink upon those Corruptors and get rid of them. So yes, the Colossus go down, but where is the meat? Where is the juicy, juicy steak to Slivko's army? It's nowhere to be seen.
Yep, and his 4th base just got taken out by a bunch of Zealots. That 5th base right next to it probably going to go down as well once the Zealots make their way over there, assuming they do. Slivko also has a bunch of drones in his main base, not doing anything whatsoever. Greater Spiral almost done for him, which is good for him. You know, he has 900 gas, so he'll be able to make quite a few of those. Sure. Will that be his saving grace? I'm not sure. It's going to come down to control. He doesn't want to keep those Broodlords on their own, wants to keep those Infestors underneath them, so Stalkers can't blink underneath them. And there we go, a bunch of Broodlords on the way, and he still has to start thinking about taking a 4th, which he hasn't been able to do, and JYP looks like he wants to engage here.
Yeah, JYP also taking the gold expansion. That's going to help him out so much. He has great position and a great expansion as well. See, this 3rd base is under attack at this point, and there's no way that Slivko can do anything about it. He has a ton of minerals, but he can't do anything about it. Now, finally, the Broodlord's going to push up here. But is it going to be enough? That's the big question. There's a ton of Stalkers in this army. No, you know, High Templars, but with those 2 Colossus, you're able to kill a lot of Broodlords. And going mass Zerglings really isn't that great. You want Roaches instead of Zerglings because Roaches are the ones that are able to do more damage. You know, basically the Broodlords have the same purpose that the Zerglings do, so just utilize that instead of, you know, getting a lot of Zerglings. But I know, as we were talking about, he's been gas-starved this whole game.
Yeah, and, you know, Colossi just completely annihilate Zerglings too. Which is why you want the Roaches, but again, we did mention that fact, and Slivko coming forward with these Broodlords doesn't want to let the Stalkers blink underneath them. That would be very bad indeed. JYP might just blink anyway, because he has enough Stalkers where he can afford to lose them as long as he gets rid of these Broodlords, because once those are gone, he can win his engagement, does blink underneath them. Bungo Growth's going down. Slivko sweeping forward with all of these links with Colossi doing so much damage.
This is gonna,
I feel like JYP,
JYP cleans everything up. There's the last Broodlord. The Zerglings are going to try to push in here, but the Colossus, they're just doing way too much damage. You can see one shot and they kill the Zerglings, kill the Broodlord, or Broodlings rather. That'd be awesome. They killed one-shot Broodlords. Poor Zerg, but at this point, I mean, Slivko has no way to deal with this. I mean, the 2 Colossus, just 2 Colossus. Normally you see something like 4 Colossus, and they're able to just rack up all the kills, but this time around, just 2 Colossus each time, and it's just too much for Slivko. Now he's going to kill all these Overlords over here, and Slivko's going to try to do his, looks like his last attack, but I don't think it's going to do much, as the Infestors are the only units that are left. GG gets called out, and Slivko will fall, giving Evil Geniuses the first win.
That was an interesting game. My 2 cents, JYP got that 3rd up, and that's like really important. PVZ, if you get that 3rd, you know, that's number 5 and number 6 on those gases, which is really important, so you can get those Colossi, those High Templar if you want. And, you know, Slivko, he had a pretty decent advantage after JYP essentially failed with that early 4-gate, I think, timing attack. It was with +1. And I felt like Slivko, he kind of got like a little bit like indecisive. He attacked, and then behind it, he was getting a hive. He was teching up a little bit, but he was also still making Roaches and Lings. I felt like if he just made nothing but Roaches at this point, just kept pouring on the Roaches, pouring on the pressure. You know, I felt he could have comfortably taken that, but behind that, or like he could do that, or just send that army forward and then spend the rest of your money, maybe getting some drones out, getting another base, and then teching up a little bit faster, getting your Spire at the same time as your Hive. He didn't get his Spire. Like, he got his Hive. He didn't have his Spire, though, so he had to make his Spire a little bit later, and then his Greater Spire came up later, and then, you know, at that point, JYP already had a nice push coming forward, and Slivko was taken completely off guard. So, you know, well played by JYP, but I felt like Slivko had an advantage and kind of sort of threw that away.
Yeah, I think so. Just not microing and macroing at the same time. That's basically what it came down to. Not having the Spire, not having the expansions, not having the 7th and 8th gases for the Zerg. That's so important. As we were saying, he was gas starved the whole time. He was actually late on his 7th and 8th gases in the middle left-hand position. Or the middle left-hand bottom position, whatever you want to call that. The
6 o'clock.
Yeah,
6:15.
6:30. Yeah.
6:15 and 30 seconds.
Yeah. Yeah. That position. I think if he saturated that just with the gases, that's all you need at that point. You don't really need the minerals, although it's nice to put drones on that as well. actually take it off something like your natural and your third, but that's another subject I want to get into. But still, you do that, and you're in a great position to actually hold off that incoming push. The Colossus aren't so deadly at that point, but not having, you know, maybe 8 Corruptors ready for that 2 Colossus push, that was pretty detrimental. And the fact that he always was, you know, gas-starved, what happened was he wanted to make roaches, but he needed Corruptors to deal with the Colossus. So what that forces is a Zergling Corruptor composition. That's not what you want. You want Roach Corruptor composition. That's a lot more efficient against a Stalker Colossus composition. And obviously, you know, Slivko paid the price for it. So that's why you saw that GG. And the eventual, you know, just endless swarms just crashing upon the Protoss. And the Protoss just being like, what is this? I don't even know what it is. It's a couple of ants, and he just shoos them off. GG no re. So we're actually going to go into the second game between Evil Geniuses against Rox.Kis. So don't go anywhere, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be back after this short break.